Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Health and Human Services and Aging Committee to order. Wednesday, June 26, 2024. Can we have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Ms. Stevens. Ms. Stevens is absent at the moment. Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Miller.
Present.
You have a quorum.
All right. Has anyone signed in for public comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have one person signed in. Lou.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
So glad to know that we have good community partners coming to today's agenda. However, in a simple way, I just have to make the complaint that all these good service providers, community partners, they just cannot get funded enough. Today, this morning, I had a particular tour with LMM. They call that immersive experience. So that was an opportunity for people to learn what LMM has been doing for the community. We do see lots of the efforts put into it, and I'm glad some of the obstacles new organization facing right now, they did not have it when they started some of the good work they are still doing. Please make sure that our budget is being utilized properly, because all these services, when they do not get adequate fundings, the result will be something like what I did back on, just Monday. Monday night, one of the workers at the Hale, she did not want to answer a simple question of mine. I just asked her, when did you do the bad check? Because she claimed she did it. She did not see me. But I wanted to know, I was there. How come I did not see her? So it became later, she had to call police on me, saying that she was physically assaulted by me, but for me, I had a danger to be assaulted by her. So, in the shelter, I came in late already because of my work. 4 a.m., I had to be woken up because a police officer wanted to talk to me since she made a call. Unfortunately, the officers did not really do their job properly either. Police left. Whole police report did not really get properly finished. I had to spend time to go to 3rd District again to get that done, even to file a complaint on the police conduct. Please understand, having proper funding for these important health and human services are very important. Instead of spending money to build a new, bigger county jail to people in incarceration, we probably should think the opposite way. Otherwise, we will lose population continuously. Remaining people in the county will be either in the jail or in the homeless shelter or on the street. That's not really productive for all of us, isn't it? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 12th meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Conwell, seconded by Miller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we have one item before us today, and then we have a presentation. So, Madam Clerk, if you could read the first item into the record, please.
Resolution 2024-0245, authorizing a sole source contract with Enterprise Community Partners Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $770,000 for direct client services assisting low-income families with free tax preparation, financial counseling, legal advocacy, outreach, and education services for the period July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026.
Good afternoon, David Merriman from the Department of Health and Human Services. In a second, I'll be joined by Marcos Cortez from our contract administration and performance team. But we're here today with Enterprise Community Partners and Kathy Matthews to present the EITC Coalition, the Earned Income Tax Credit Coalition, and the contract that we have with them to operate what I believe is one of the most impactful programs in the county, touching literally thousands of county families to help them apply for the earned income tax credit. Very excited to continue to support this project and very much applaud the work of Kathy Matthews and her team and the coalition as broad as it is. I understand that she's here on behalf of Enterprise, but more importantly, she's here on behalf of all the volunteers and other partner organizations. And so I'm going to invite Marcos up to provide the details on the contract, and then I think we'll share the mic with Kathy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services. Again, Enterprise Community Partners leads the Cuyahoga County's Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program through the Cuyahoga County Earned Income Tax Credit Coalition, which provides, again, as we heard, free tax preparation and access to other financially based services for all low-income taxpayers living in Cuyahoga County. Enterprise promotes and advocates for the EITC, a refundable tax credit for people who work but earn low incomes. By offering this valuable service at no cost, the coalition helps low-income families avoid tax preparation fees and other exorbitant refund anticipation product charges, ensuring the taxpayers realize more of their return. The enterprise-led coalition has consistently demonstrated how the EITC and free tax preparation can be a valuable tool to assist low-income individuals and families improve their economic status. Again, we procured this through a sole source process, issuing a notice that we were going to contract with for this service. Enterprise was the only one to respond. Again, we have Kathy Matthews here from Enterprise who could answer any questions specifically about the program, and I can answer any questions specifically about the process.
All right, a question I have, Mr. Cortez. Do we put this out to bid, this contract out to bid, or?
Again, this is a sole source.
Or sole source?
Yeah,
Okay.
so the requirements of a sole source is that we have to advertise for 5 days to see if anybody else could provide this type of service. Again, Enterprise is the only one that responded.
Okay. You can invite Ms. Kathy Matthews up?
Through the chair,
Yes.
may I ask Mr. Cortez, how do you make those advertisements? Through what?
It's actually done through purchasing. They actually issue a legal advertisement about the services.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us.
I had a couple of questions. Do you keep a record of the families that are assisted?
Yes, we can report out in aggregate those families that have been that received our services, but we are bound by the IRS guidelines of the VITA program. We can't disseminate any individual personal identification regarding the families that have been served. But we are able to provide aggregate information by zip code and general demographic information about the families and individuals that are served by the program.
And do you provide those with anyone at the county?
Yes,
Is that on a quarterly basis, annual, or what?
it's been quarterly at this point.
And I see that you provide legal advocacy. Can you explain a little bit about how in-depth you guys go? And is it turned over to Legal Aid Society if it's something larger than you can handle?
Yes, Legal Aid actually is a designated partner and has been since the inception of the program with the coalition, and they act not only in an advocacy role, but will provide representation in the event that there's a need identified by either the program and or vice versa with Legal Aid, a client that comes to them for advocacy and needs tax preparation services as a result of some IRS situation, they'll refer them to us, and again, vice versa. In the event that that a taxpayer comes to us with questions, we will then, through the partnership, make sure that they're handled appropriately and well with our partners at Legal Aid.
And final question, in terms of the outreach and educational services and all the services that you provide, are they just for individuals that are on public assistance, or are they open to other families that might not?
So our outreach is multi-leveled in that We, as a part of the VITA program, make sure we're advocating for individuals who are eligible for the VITA program, which are individuals who make, in general, less than $60,000. And that's the general public or general population that would be eligible for those services. But specific to the program where we really, as our, what we call our bread and butter or our primary focus, are those eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit. So the majority of our funding that we use to advocate and perform outreach are really around families with children and individuals most likely to claim the Earned Income Tax Credit.
Thank you. I want to open it up to my colleagues. Councilman Miller.
So, Madam Chair to Enterprise, how many people were assisted with the Earned Income Tax Credit last year?
Last year was a little over 2,000 were able to claim the Earned Income Tax Credit through our program. About 100,000 in general. I haven't seen the latest numbers from the IRS, but about 100,000 plus individuals or families in Cuyahoga County claim the Earned Income Tax Credit. So there's a lot of room for growth in what we do. A lot of the families we serve will go to a paid tax preparer, especially those who are claiming the Earned Income Tax Credit. So we're very, we work diligently and really hard to try to make sure that those who are eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit are aware of our services and know they have a choice to get the services for free.
And what percentage of the people in Cuyahoga County who are eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit are taking advantage of the credit?
It is estimated that 1 out of 5 are eligible for the credit but don't claim it. So we are, through our outreach efforts, are consistently and proactively trying to reach those who might not be aware that they're eligible. Those tend to be grandparents raising children, people whose incomes may have changed over the course of the year as it relates to either their family situations changing or job changes and reduction in income in which they previously weren't eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit, but they are this year, and a whole host of other things that of reasons why individuals who are eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit that they may not be aware that they are eligible. So it's estimated about 1 in 5, 20% are not claiming it. We have a lot of work to continue to do.
How many people did we assist with tax matters other than Earned Income Tax Credit?
Last year, over 10,000.
10,000?
We served 10,000 people, a little over 10,000 people last year. We helped them prepare their tax returns for free. Of those 10,000, approximately 2,000 claimed the Earned Income Tax Credit with us.
That's a lot of service.
We're very busy. If you're not doing anything from January to March, we'd really appreciate you volunteering with us.
Okay. Thank you.
So repeat that again for me, Ms. Matthews. You said 10,000 were served for the tax service, but only 2,000.
Claimed the Earned Income Tax Credit. Another maybe 1,700, 1,800 of those also claimed the Child Tax Credit.
So when you're serving the 10,000, is it shared with them at that time that they may be eligible and how to claim
Absolutely.
it?
Our volunteers are trained specifically to make sure we're focused and inquiring and making sure they're aware, and one, that they are aware of the Earned Income Tax Credit, but as we do the tax return, the software will help make sure we're properly claiming it for them on their behalf.
Thank you. Any other questions from my colleague?
Yes, please.
Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for all the work that you do. Tell me what you do, though, for the general public that's watching, and you didn't give any of a presentation of what the process is. And
So thank you. The Earned Income Tax
You're
Credit.
welcome.
Thank you. The Earned Income Tax Credit Coalition is a organized effort throughout Cuyahoga County with many community partners involved, with Enterprise as the lead convener or organizer of the program, working with approximately 14 different VITA sites or partner organizations co-located with CDCs in our community or throughout the community, some libraries and social service agencies in which individuals are most likely to be familiar with those locations and would trust them. Credibility is really important in what we do because, one, it's free, and two, we're working with volunteers, and three, you're going to hand over your social security card, your driver's license, and your W-2. So we want residents of the community to know that this information that they're sharing with us is being managed and handled by a trusted partner and trained volunteers. The coalition will do a couple of things on a centralized basis on behalf of the coalition. One is we recruit and we train the volunteers, and we make sure every volunteer that works with us is certified through the IRS volunteer certification process. So that does two things. One, it makes sure that the volunteer, in the event that they make a mistake, are not held liable. And two, that the individuals that we're serving feel the person, the volunteer that's working with them has some credentials and or has proven they are familiar with the tax program. We then also, as a coalition, we coordinate a pretty extensive, comprehensive marketing and outreach plan that we're always building on because, again, there's more people we need to reach. If 1 in 5 continue not, and that's a national number, that's not unique to our program, is we make sure that we're advocating and communicating effectively through a whole host of channels, traditional grassroots, distribution of flyers, postcards, direct mail, then social media, radio advertising, kiosks, and other things to make sure that the program is well communicated as possible. And then we create a toolkit for partner organizations working primarily with or focused on organizations that are likely to serve families with children and likely to be eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit to advocate on behalf of the coalition, to lend credibility, and to hopefully persuade or give pause to individuals who are paying for the service to think about and be willing to take advantage of the free service so that they can save on average between $100 to $300 conservatively around not having to pay someone.
Thank you. Got two more little ones. Earned income tax credit comes off your mouth or off your tongue very well. What is it for the, just some people, those are just words. How can they understand what it really means so they can say, wow, that might include me?
Thank you. It is a refundable tax credit that was enacted in 1975. It has bipartisan support, and it's income, it's a tax credit, a refundable tax credit, which makes it even more powerful. So if you have a tax liability and are eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit, it can offset your tax liability, this particular credit, but if you don't have a tax credit or tax liability, the entirety of the tax, the credit can be returned to you. So it's a very powerful refund. And we know through the work that we've done is that the individuals who are claiming the Earned Income Tax Credit, as well as the others that we serve, they primarily spend their refunds on rent, utilities, and very basic household needs.
Thank you. Very important. You mentioned partners and coalition. You didn't mention any of them. Give me some of them.
Thank you. Cleveland Housing Network, Famicos Foundation, Northwest Neighborhoods, Rice Library, Parma Snow Library, Burton Bell Carr, CDC, ESOP. Put me on the spot here. It's always dangerous to name your friends and your partners and forget somebody.
It's spread out throughout the county.
Correct.
But mostly focused through the chair in the city of Cleveland because of the need?
Correct.
But no one's eliminated because of?
No one.
As long as it meets the
No,
guidelines.
and we actually, to be responsive throughout Cuyahoga County and some of the outer ring suburbs, we do host mobile sites
Good.
at some of our senior centers, especially where people might be more limited in their mobility or ability to be, to travel to one of our locations. So we have established a mobile presence where we'll find a partner that will host us, and there are certain requirements that we need in order to be able to do it efficiently. We will set up and make an agreement where we'll advertise and tell that surrounding community or residents of that host organization or the individuals who receive services from that organization that will be there that day to try and make our program as accessible as possible.
Thank you for being patient with me and filling me in a lot more. And just the last question, Marcos, is this every year or is this 770 for the 2-year window?
No, 770 is for 2 years.
For 2 years?
Yes.
Okay. Is that enough money? It's good enough for you right now? Because that's all you get?
We will gratefully accept the $770,000, but we're always fundraising. But right now, that will adequately meet our needs for the coming year or actually the next 2 years.
Thank you very much for your very thorough and explicit explanation, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Right, I guess this question is for Marcos. Has the amount of this contract stayed steady over the last few years?
It's pretty close. I believe the last contract was about 368,000.
And that, the
Year.
360
It was for 1 year.
Oh, okay, okay. And this is for 2 years with an option year?
I believe there's an option year included.
And looking at the date, it's July 1st, is there any request to move it along?
Yes, we would like to approval on second reading suspension.
Right, so I'll make a motion to move R2024-0245 to the full council under second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, been moved by Conwell, seconded by Turner. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Marcos.
And Ms. Matthews, before you step away, can you just state your name for the record, please?
Kathy Matthews.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews.
you.
Through the chair, may I add my name to this?
Yes. You can add mine, too.
Madam Chair, mine as well. Thank you.
All of us. Welcome, David. So I just want to say that we're going to have a presentation by Administrator Merriman for the Pay for Success program. It's taken different turns over the years, and so he's going to give us the update and how it's going.
Great, thank you very much, Councilwoman Conwell. David Merriman, Director of Health and Human Services, and I'm here today with a team. And so joining me will be Marcos Cortez, who has done a great amount of the work that has enabled us to prepare the contract and the service that is here for presentation. I also just want to acknowledge Mark Heidorf and Tyra Taylor from the Law Department, who have been key to the negotiations and development. What I want to do is I want to start off with just a very brief overview of the project and just getting you up to speed. I'm going to then turn the the presentation over to Jess Hector from Inside Track. She has a PowerPoint presentation that will speak to the specifics of the services. If possible, I'd love to save time because we're joined today by Simone Gross from Maycomb Capital, the investor in the project, Anthony Lamb, retired Lieutenant Colonel, who is here on behalf of the Ohio National Guard, and Jared Shank, who's here on behalf of the Ohio Department of Higher Education. And so we're all here today to present how our current Ohio National Guard project is going and answer any questions. We're going to move through the presentation at a pace because we understand generally there are questions and we want to save time for there to be discussion. Before I jump in, I do also want to acknowledge that I did have a chance to have a conversation with County Councilman Jack Schron yesterday. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get to Jack to do a brief on the presentation prior to us finalizing it, and I appreciate Sharon Georgakopoulos taking the PowerPoint late into the evening and following up. We were just working on some details, but I did have a chance to share with Councilman Schron that we were presenting today. More importantly, the entire team came in today, and let me explain what that means. Anthony Lamb drove in from the Cincinnati area. Jared Shank drove in from Dayton, and Jess Hector drove in from Columbus, and then four other members flew in from around the country, as far as Oregon and also New York City for today's presentation. They came in early because we wanted to have a conversation at Magnet, and we wanted to start talking about how we can begin to increase referral of manufacturing job opportunities to these guardsmen, making both sides aware. We want guardsmen to know there are manufacturing jobs available in Cuyahoga County. There's training, there is support, and we know that there are guardsmen that would be great fits for these manufacturing jobs. And we believe these employers would get great employees from the guardsmen. And in fact, there are now education programs that prepare residents for manufacturing jobs. Some of these are offered by Tri-C in their associate's degrees. So we feel like there is a very clear opportunity for us working with Magnet to start to now not just help guardsmen get into college or a training program, stay in college or a training program, and ultimately graduate from college or a training program, but also get a job. And ideally getting a job in manufacturing or in healthcare or in information technology, or maybe with a public employer like Cuyahoga County. So that's what we're working on. I'm grateful for Lizzie Rand, who hosted us this morning and who's engaging with us. And I would encourage all council members, if you haven't been to the Magnet facility, it is fabulous. It dazzles. And we are quietly talking about an event, possibly with Magnet associated to this. As details get confirmed, I'll personally invite each of you, because I'd love to have you all out to Magnet to see their facility. It impresses and is something that I think we should all be very proud of. So what I want to do is share just the broad strokes of how we got here, and then I think save the real detail and I think the excitement for Jess's presentation. So if you recall, this is our second Pay for Success project. The first was launched, really almost 10 years ago and wrapped up about 5 years ago. The second project was developed in the final years of the Budish administration. And ultimately, the contract was executed at the end of 2022, with services set to begin in 2023. So really, we're just into like the first year of the program, because services began at the end of 23, but we sort of rolled into it. We had a lot of details to work out, and I think we're really starting to pick up momentum. We are now engaging guardsmen. We are working with them, and as I said earlier, our goals are quite clear. We want to get Ohio National Guardsmen into college or a training program. We want them to stay in it term to term, and ultimately, we want them completing. And the county's role is we're going to pay for each of those outcomes. So anytime somebody gets enrolled, there's an outcome payment. When up to a certain number of semesters that a person continues and they stay engaged in their program, we're going to pay back our provider, Inside Track. And when they graduate, we'll pay for that. And what's exciting about this, as opposed to other fee-for-service contracts, which you're all very familiar with, is we pay when there's a positive outcome, as opposed to paying when a service is provided. I do want to take a second and pause. With the first project, we had a very complicated process and great relationship with Case Western Reserve University, where they were tracking the outcomes. One of the innovations of this project is the Ohio Department of Higher Education, and they're now doing that same evaluation. They're going to be doing that same reporting. There's no additional cost. This is a part of their job. And we're hearing it straight from the Ohio Department of Higher Education on whether or not the outcomes occurred. And I think that's an important thing, because now we're talking about using administrative data more effectively without an additional cost. A last point that I want to make before I turn it over to Jess is Pay for Success has some razzle-dazzle to it. I mean, it is exciting and something I'm very proud of. The fact that we were able to work with Maycomb Capital to negotiate with them an Inside Track, a loan from Maycomb Capital to Inside Track, for Inside Track to start doing services, for them to work with the Ohio National Guardsmen to engage these residents and to get them into training programs and to coach them through that experience. And for when that service is successful, for the county to make a payment, that's exciting to me. That's a different way of doing business, and we should be proud of it. But at the end of the day, I think what we should be really focused on is these programs are having a meaningful impact on our residents' lives. This is not an abstract program. It does support universities to get students, to make sure those students stay in there. So there is some support to universities, and there is support to area employers that they're going to be getting better trained, better prepared veterans. These are individuals who have gone through military training and service. They're coming out ready to work, and we're going to get them set up with great jobs. But really, at the end of the day, the greatest impact is we are serving county residents that are generally in active service of our country, and we're helping them get into college or training, to stay in that college or training program, despite a high likelihood of being deployed, and staying engaged till they're done, seeing through a commitment they made to us, and I think we owe them a commitment in exchange. So I'm very proud of this project. I'm very proud and grateful for the partnership team that's here today. And without further ado, what I'd like to do is I'm just going to move to Jess. And I'll invite Jess, and she will come up with her team. They're going to make a presentation. At the end of the presentation, I'll come back up, and we'll include the balance of those that are here to present. Jess? So the slides will be brought up, and this will advance.
Okay, perfect.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to see you all again and be in front of you today. I'm really excited to provide an update. Jessica Hector, Associate Vice President of Partner Success with Inside Track. I brought some team members from our operations team who will also be sharing some details of the program with us. Is the ready? Great. Righty. So as David mentioned, this is a multi-sector partnership really aimed at increasing outcomes for Ohio National Guardsmen that are utilizing the Ohio National Guard Scholarship. Those outcomes that we're really driving are that credential program matriculation, term-to-term persistence, and completion. Also to review, that scholarship can be used for certificate, credential programs, 2-year or 4-year degrees, and those are for guardsmen that either live within Cuyahoga County or one of the contingent counties, or are attending an institution here in Cuyahoga County or one of the contingent counties. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Dinah, who's going to talk through some of the aspects of coaching.
I'm a Strategic Partnership Director here at Inside Track. I get to talk about some of the fun stuff with our coaching methodology, so what we're actually doing with the Guardsmen. So this is just a bit about how we actually do our coaching, our methodology. So when we're meeting with these Guardsmen, this is what our coaches are doing. And next we'll talk a bit about, Dinah Zeiss, Strategic Partnership Director. So when we are first meeting, or each of our meetings look like this, we're building relationships, so getting to know the students we're working with. We're doing assessment, so everybody comes to their coaching meetings with their own background, their own history. We're meeting to advance, so we're finding out what they want to talk about, what they need to come in and discuss during their time with us. We're building motivation. Everybody's here for a different reason. Everybody's coming to school, looking for a job, for their own reasons. We want to know their why, and that's what we work on together. And then it's always a call to action. So we're strategizing on what comes next. We also know to be successful, we work on their knowledge and skills and beliefs, knowing the resources available, the skills to utilize them, and the beliefs that they belong where they are. The next slide, yes. So just a bit about where we are today. So we so far have 234 opted-in Guard members. We have met at this time with 53 of them. And this gives you a sense of some of the trends and insights that we're seeing. So when students are meeting with us, the coaches are gathering the most common topics that we discuss. So academics, no surprise, is at the top. Study skills, test-taking tips, strategies. Managing commitments comes up a lot, as you can imagine, with this population, with deployments, career, what comes next, health and support. This population is a little bit different because often when we're speaking with college students, there's a lot about finance, and that takes up a lot of our coaching time. And so with this population coming with the scholarship, we don't spend as much time on that topic. And just a bit about a learner's spotlight. So just to give you a sense, a quote on there that you can read. And then next, I'm going to pass it to Caitlin, who actually is the manager of the coaches, can give you a sense of a learner's story for some more in-depth account of experience that we're having.
So nice to meet you all. My name is Caitlin Collins, and I'm a program director for Inside Track. And I'm here to tell you about one Guard member that we've served so far, just to give you a sense of what the experience for one person looks like. This Guard member is based here in Cleveland, Ohio, and attends the Ohio State University and is pursuing a bachelor's in computer science. And this was a student, like so many, who had stepped away from school after being previously enrolled. We started working with them in November of last year. They signed up through an event that Jess here attended and decided to start participating in coaching at that time. They met with their coach named Leah and shared some of the challenges that they had had previously with school. They had some difficulty managing commitments because they were going to school full-time and working full-time. And as a result, were not successful in their previous go, but really wanted to commit to being successful this time around and was looking to their coach for accountability and support. So since then, they have met with their coach 8 times over the phone. They've also connected via text message between meetings to touch base and celebrate successes, but also discuss any obstacles that have come up. And there have been obstacles. This particular student was spending many hours every week on their calculus and physics class. I'm sure we can all relate to that. Those are tough subjects. And by the middle of the term was really feeling like they were on a path to fail those classes. So they worked with their coach to come up with a strategy to manage their time effectively. They also worked on leveraging their resources, particularly TAs and instructors, to make sure they were getting the support around the subject that they needed. And then from there, also we're connected with crisis support services. We have a special team at Inside Track that handles situations that are, beyond the scope of coaching. And so with all of that support, this Guard member was able to move through those challenges successfully, and by the end of the term, earned A's and B's, including in those challenging calculus and physics classes. And in their most recent meetings with their coach, attributed coaching as part of the success there. Said, I couldn't have done it without you. And of course, the coach, Leah, very humble and said, no, you did this. But I think what that story shows is that, coaching, I think, is really powerful for enabling these Guardsmen to achieve their full potential and hopefully ultimately go back to their communities with more knowledge, skills, and a belief in making an impact. So that's one of our stories, and I'll hand it back to David.
We will have time for each of the speakers to also answer questions, but we wanted to get through the PowerPoint. And so what I thought would be valuable is to hear directly from our investor, Maycomb Capital. So Simone Gross, as I said, has flown in from New York City, and as well as her colleague Jonathan. And so I'm going to invite Simone up to just share a little bit about this project, why Maycomb Capital is at the table, and what they're hoping to see.
Again, I'm Simone Gross with Maycomb Capital, and it is a pleasure to be back.
Excuse me, Ms. Gross, can you step closer to the mic, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Is this good?
A little bit closer. Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure to be back here, like Jess said, a year later, to be able to present on having launched the project. And there's so much in this that represents the real success of the public-private partnership of Pay for Success. We get to learn as we do. And so what you're getting is the first report out on how the project is ramping up, which has given all of us in the stakeholder group a lot of really great learnings on how to continue to work together and improve things. And we get the real-time updates from the learners, which is like those anecdotes is, I think, why we all get up in the morning. So that's the larger stakeholder group. But as you can see, there are also within Ohio specific stakeholders who have those benefits. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
So I would want to invite next up the Ohio National Guard and Anthony Lamb, and then we'll all be here for questions. And I should acknowledge, we're going to leave the slide up just so you have the context of what each group is hoping for.
Hello, Anthony Lamb. I'm the Warrior Support Division Chief for the Ohio National Guard. I'm very excited to be a part of this project. I know I got a chance to speak to you before. It was kind of a slow ramp up, and we're starting to accelerate, and it's exciting to see. I'm always glad to hear when we have soldiers who are overcoming their challenges and they're getting through their education. And Today was one more extension over at the Magnet Center to talk about, so if we're able to get them finished with their education, maybe we're also able to help them get a job. So I'm happy to be a part of this project, and I'm glad to see it progressing at the pace that it is. I hope it continues to accelerate.
So the last of our presenters is Jared Schenk, who unfortunately was unavailable when we did our final presentation in committee. Jared is here on behalf of the Ohio Department of Higher Education. His role has been instrumental throughout this project. And again, I also just acknowledge both Anthony and Jared both drove in today from Cincinnati and Dayton and are, I think, critical partners.
Thank you. As David said, I'm Jared Schenk, Senior Director for Military and Apprenticeship Initiatives and Special Projects with the Ohio Department of Higher Education. I really can't say enough about the positive aspects of this project. Obviously we mentioned, the specific outcomes we're looking for student completion, student success, ongoing use. But there's so many other things that the state is going to kind of glean from this project, and we're certainly interested at the level of success of this project. Can we replicate this across the state? Is that something that we want to see more of? We as Department of Higher Education are looking at this because if this is successful in the manner of which we think it will be, can we start using similar projects for other populations, other subgroups, other things? I mean, the level of expansion potential with this is pretty significant. So we're really of interest with this. I'm like chomping at the bit to see like all the data and information, but this has just started. It's like I already want like the end report so we can start moving and making progress at the state. Yeah, the short of it is I'm really excited to see the direction this is going, and I really am excited to see the potential impact on not only the National Guard but other students in higher education in the state of Ohio. So thank you.
So I will close, and I just want to reiterate the messages that are up on the screen. I firmly believe this project will achieve the impacts we've listed here. I think the county will increase talent pool. I reflect back on that period during the pandemic when we had guardsmen that were providing vaccinations at vaccine vents, and they were providing food at food distribution. They were, staffing the jail at times. We know that there is talent. We know there is deep talent within the guardsman population. Our goal is to connect them to training, whether it's at a college, university, or at a certified training provider. Let's bring that talent out of them. Let's connect them to jobs. I also believe that we owe it to those guardsmen to support them, to take advantage of this resource to improve their lives. We hope that this will help the Ohio National Guard program improve its performance on this scholarship. It's an amazing resource. They offer an amazing resource, and we see the Ohio National Guard as a clear partner of ours. Time and again, they have been there for us. It's an opportunity for us to support them as well. I think as I've said, the key is the guardsmen, helping each of them and their individual goals to achieve their goals. And lastly, I think for the state, I hope that this project will be recognized as a success, and this will pave the way for a statewide program. And I think the days of us sort of funding providers and expecting that they'll simply be able to find clients and get them into programs, I don't want to say those have ended. I think there's still a place for that, but I think there are options for us now that says if we give our providers the resources they need, and in this case, Maycomb Capital has given Inside Track the resources to just get out there and figure it out, we will find that there are better outcomes to be had. We can support the state of Ohio's goals to advance attainment goals, to increase the use of training dollars and training programs, and ultimately for there to be a return on investment for the state funding that goes into these scholarships. So again, I'm going to close by just saying, I think we're done with the slide. I'm going to close by just saying we're grateful for council for your support in facilitating this project. I just have to acknowledge Councilman Miller has been a past direct supporter. Councilwoman Conwell, you had this come through your committee and you let us move very quickly. And I think without your enabling legislation to allow us to move forward and to close a project at the end of administration, we would not be helping these guardsmen, and we would not be in a position to be connecting guardsmen with manufacturing jobs, guardsmen with training opportunities, you know, and ultimately possibly creating a path that we hope the entire state will follow. So I'll stop there, open it up for questions, and if there are any questions for any of our panel members, we can bring them up.
Through the chair, I just was wondering of those 234, what the gender demographics might look like.
I don't know that we have the gender demographics here, but we can report on it.
And age, if that's possible.
Age and gender, sure.
Yeah.
And I should acknowledge also, when we make success payments, the payments we make will be tied to those outcomes. However, there is a differential payment, and we do make a higher payment when the guardsman is a minority. And because we've seen a disparity in performance. And so that is a component of this. And we believe that the state of Ohio, I think, has made great inroads, and they're progressing on how they can improve services for everyone. And I think that's the goal. And in our place, we want to recognize that. And we're committed to also addressing a disparity.
I can appreciate that so much. Yesterday, I had an opportunity. The Business Opportunity Expo was in town. They had their conference here, and I had an opportunity to sit on a panel to discuss DEI. And the county declaring racism as a public health crisis came up a few times in a few different ways during this conference. And, you know, one thing I was asked was, what does that look like in application, right? And even though none of us asked you about that, right, I think the recognition of you knowing and the data is there, that there are often challenges that minorities face. So I appreciate you sharing that transparently with us.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And I, you know, I understand that this is one of the issues that I think has been really sort of taken on in the midst of the co-occurring challenges with COVID, the pandemic. And I want you to know it did not get lost on us. So as we were negotiating these rates, what I heard from the state of Ohio, they are absolutely committed. Everyone deserves access. Everyone should be advanced. And so I know, I don't have any doubt about my partners' values and what they believe in. I think as a county, though, because we made that declaration, this was our decision to say, if we're not seeing performance at the same level, how about we incentivize? We want to see overperformance. And I think the state has great programs to address all disadvantaged populations. Like I think they have actually a pretty well-established commitment. And so I think our placing a priority payment fits within that. But clearly they also have made this a priority, and they've made this a goal as well. And I think we're just approaching it through different means.
Thanks for sharing that.
Madam Chair, Director, have any success payments been made so far? And if so, what things have we paid for, and how many of each?
So, Councilman Miller, we have not made success payments yet. We expect to this year. So the first cohort that we served were students that were already enrolled in college. And so there was not an opportunity for a success payment for someone to get enrolled. But we do see that there are people that need support staying in college to be able to be in a position to graduate. And I think that's some of what you heard from Dinah and Caitlin. So the term-to-term persistence success payment is one that I think we'll be making a payment on this year for individuals that we've served, because we serve them, they've stayed in school from one term to the next. The data is not yet available demonstrating that term-to-term persistence has been verified by the Ohio Department of Higher Education. We think that's going to come. I don't want to say there's a lag in the data, but there's a timing issue that when a term ends, a person goes on a break, then they show up at the next term, and at a certain point you have to have enough time to see that they've stayed engaged in college. And so that's exactly what I think is going to happen. We'll see people that were in school last year, they're in school now, and that's one of our outcomes.
Madam Chair Director, do we have an estimate on the percentage non-white in the current participants?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't think we have one yet.
When you do, could you let us know?
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and Director. It's always nice to see you.
Likewise.
But it's even better to see the same crew we saw last time. And they're the happiest, most dedicated, excited group of people that I've had the privilege of seeing, and the same faces are here. And with our National Guard, the one thing that we talked about last time, it incentivizes the recruitment. Do you see that at all as a possibility or a
Yeah,
reality?
let me ask Anthony Lamb to come forward to just speak about the value of this scholarship as a tool to help encourage citizens to join the
Talked
National
about last
Guard.
time.
Do I need to re-announce? Okay, good to go. All right. Yes, the National Guard Scholarship Program has, for a long time, has been one of the leading reasons why people join the National Guard. It's been a way to choose to serve for 6 years and get 4 years up to a baccalaureate degree worth of education paid for at state institutions. That can be applied towards a private institution as well, but obviously it would only pay at the state rate. But that's still, you know, in today's dollars, we're probably talking about $43,000 over 4 years. That's a lot of money. And they can get other benefits that come with that, GI Bill and other things that can be added on to that to make that work. So it's a huge recruitment tool, and it's a huge retention tool for us. Our goal is to get more of them to be successful utilizing their benefit so that they become more successful and we become part of our success. That's really what we're trying to get to with them, because then it turns into retention. And that's the next step for us to really work. We do a pretty good job of getting them in the door. We want to get them through some programs and then get them ahead in their lives so they can want to stay with us.
Thank you. I was just following up on the original question I had last time you were here.
Absolutely.
I got a couple more,
Anything
Madam.
else?
Go right ahead.
Come on back up here, David.
Thank you, but actually, I do want to add just one thing. I just want to point out the fact that the state of Ohio has been very strategic. Historically, these scholarship funds were for college, 2- and 4-year degrees, and they now cover training as well. And so I think we just, as a society, have to recognize the path to prosperity does not always go through college. That is a great path, and we are encouraging people, but increasingly, this program is now also allows training programs to be paid for out of that scholarship. So if a person wants to be a CNC operator, if a person wants to get a technical skill, they can do that through this program. And I think as a community that is invested in manufacturing, it's critical for us to be lifting up those credential training opportunities next to college advancement.
And I can't agree more. Madam Chairwoman, first of all, I forgot to thank you for your service. I mean, every time you come up, you should be, and thank you for traveling this far to talk to us. It shows the commitment you have. Just with the state of Ohio, we're the pilot program. Once we get it going, they're going to buy into it and make it statewide. Is that your thought process?
That's my hope. I think at this point, I don't think there's any doubt about the investment of time for both Anthony as well as Jared and their teams, because both of them also have teams. But at this point, we have presented this program. We're letting the state know what we're doing. We're hoping that they're going to look at this. And we've had to say that as we've done outreach and recruitment events, we're telling people from Franklin County, no.
Yeah.
We can't help you. We're telling people from Hamilton County, no, we can't help you. It's the wrong county. And so we are letting folks know that it's unfortunate that we think this service could help others, but right now this is for Northeastern Ohio.
And through the chair, you keep saying the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
It's our governor.
Yeah.
And I think this is right up his alley. And he has 2 years left. And I think we're going to have a track record in place for him to look at. And I can see him saying all day long, this is something that I want. That's who he is. So I won't mind getting this group. I mean, Department of Higher Ed, the director's here. He's the man that's going to be able to share what this means to the National Guard in the state of Ohio. But if he has the opportunity to see this group and how much they care, and it's all selflessness. So that's just how I see it happening, and it's, the state of Ohio is our governor.
Agreed.
In 2 years from now, we won't know who it is.
Well, and I have to say that the partnership in this project with Anthony as well as Jared, and Jared is also a veteran. Jared Schenk is also a veteran. The commitment for them to get in their cars at 5 o'clock in the morning and drive up here, I mean, it just says a lot. It says what they think about these programs. These are administrators. And what I just would say that as people see this program, they get excited about it. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about helping people that are helping secure our state, helping secure our country. And I think everybody can get behind that. And this can be one of those clear, nonpartisan, just the right thing to do opportunities.
And this is a universe of individuals through the chair that are programmed to give.
That's right.
Instead of receive. And this is probably foreign to them or reluctant.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a way to make it easy on them. Through the chair, can you at least reimburse them for their gas?
Yeah, I don't think that was built in, but I would also say the amazing thing about the Ohio National Guard is Anthony was just talking at our pre-meeting about that. They have funding now for childcare.
Oh, wow.
They now have built into their program funding for childcare because they know guardsmen, number one, and a lot of them are part of families. And, childcare becomes a barrier. And so I wouldn't put anything past them. They are very innovative. They're thinking about the needs of their service members, and I wouldn't put anything past them. They do have flex funding to do other things, and it's a demonstration of the commitment to these individuals.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Madam Chairwoman, for letting me ramble for a minute.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I would love to see a billboard or some kind of digital communications around getting the word out. It don't cost that much.
Councilwoman, I appreciate that, and I think right now what we've done is we've allowed this program to grow, and we're picking up steam. And we have to be mindful also of the fact that we really have a hard time saying no to people, but we have to do that as well. And we've had people hear about it and say, this is exactly what I need. I need this service. And we've said, well, I'm sorry, you're outside the service area. And that's a fact sometimes of programs that you have to have eligibility criteria. I think we've been aggressive. And today we were talking about a resident who's going to Ursuline College for nursing. And, this is a county college. This is a college located in Cuyahoga County. I don't know that she's a resident of Cuyahoga County or one of the contiguous. This is someone who's going to be a nurse in our community. We've got to figure out how to support that. And my point in this, to your suggestion about the billboards, you're right. We need to promote more. We need to find out what is going to motivate people. We are going to try to push the word out, but we also are going to be making a pitch to many more guardsmen in the coming weeks. We're going to really pick up momentum, as Anthony said, and I don't want us to sort of make commitments we can't follow up on. But we're working in that direction, and I think with state support, we can serve many more people.
Madam Chair, one more little one.
Go right ahead.
Madam Chairwoman, I just want to thank you, because this is something that I had no clue. You bring it up a year ago, you bring it back, and I appreciate your leadership on this one.
Thank you. David, I had a question. How many students are currently enrolled in the Ohio National Guards program?
I'm going to ask Inside Track to come up. It's how many students are currently enrolled in the program? So in the overall scholarship or just this project? Well, how about this project? How about I have Anthony come up and speak to, if he can, how many are in the National Guard scholarship in general? And then I'll ask Jess to come up and say how many right now are actively enrolled in the program.
I'm going to speak to the statewide. It's approximately 2,000 to 2,500 Army and Air National Guardsmen who are enrolled at any time across the entire state. Ms. Hector?
Yeah, Jess will come up.
Yeah, Of those 2,000 right now, based on, we worked really closely with the Guard in allowing us to put a radio opt-in button on the scholarship page. So Guardsmen, when they're registering or going out for their scholarship to fill out the paperwork for it, they can opt into the coaching program at that point. That allows us to then ingest that file into our system so they land on our coach roster. We have 234 Guardsmen who now have opted into the coaching program. 53 of them we've engaged with at this point in time.
Okay, and how do you plan on engaging the remaining of the 234?
So we'll continue our communication plan. We do a multi-channel, so we're not only emailing them, but we are texting them and giving them phone calls, and that will continue until in perpetuity, right? As long as, and they might be at various stages in their learner journey, right? They might be just enrolling in school, they might be in their third year of school, they might be just completing and then thinking about going back to school. And so our coaching team will continue to outreach to get engagement.
And are the students that are enrolled in, the 53 students that are currently enrolled, are they enrolled in various universities?
Yes, they are enrolled in various universities, whether that be, or programs, whether it be 2-year, 4-year, some within Cuyahoga County or contingent, or, some are just residents of this area, maybe attending, like, for example, the Ohio State University.
And currently, this is the only pilot in the state of Ohio.
That is correct.
And final question that I had, are there any benefits to Ohio Department of Higher Education for getting so many students graduated? Is there any benefit?
Yes, I mean, I think the common answer to that is yes, the state has an attainment goal. Ultimately, we need as many people in the state credentialed with something other than a high school diploma. So that's the added benefit of this, is now it's eligible, as David said earlier, not just for associates and baccalaureates, but your certificate programs, apprenticeship programs, things like that tie directly into jobs in the community. So yes, it is a very much all hands on deck with any type of educational credential that you can complete.
And what are you doing to retain the families after they complete?
Retaining the families is really,
To stay here in the state.
Yeah. It's really getting to a point of highlighting all of the reasons to stay in Ohio. So some of that is like, military retirement pay being tax-free. There's small incentives, but it's really the fact that the job market in Ohio seems to be taking off quite a bit. We're working with outside entities like Intel and other big manufacturers that are coming into the state. Everything seems to be really, really ramping up. Intel specifically has met with us and talked about their commitment to specifically hiring women as well as veterans for all of their jobs, and how we're gearing up that pipeline to basically try to meet those needs. So there's definitely a lot of eyes on retention, and the last couple years in Ohio has actually seen more students coming from out of state into Ohio than Ohio is losing to out of state. So that brain drain has ceased and is in the positive the last couple years as well. So that's a good thing to see.
Okay, out of the 53 students, how many are those students are close to graduating or being finished with the program? Or the training?
I don't know that we can report on that today. We'll take a note as we are able to determine that, because some of them have just been referred to us, and we're trying to find out where they are in their journey. And frankly, a lot of what we do is just really focusing on building a relationship, as the slide says, building rapport, and then hearing what needs they are focusing on right now, and then we get to the academics. So I think in many cases, we may not even know that yet, and that's something that we're really just trying to work towards as a goal. But when we have the answer, we'll let you know.
Okay, so to my understanding, David, we just ramped this up. I know we've done it for a while, but we haven't even completed a year.
That's correct.
Right? Okay, so I don't remember if there was a deadline or a sunset when we first started out.
There is not. So part of the, I think, the vision on this, what we recognize, these are Ohio National Guardsmen. They will probably be deployed during their time. In fact, Anthony Lamb was sharing that as he meets with people that are considering it, he says, you know, if you're with us for 6 years, you could get deployed 2-3 times. So there's a reality to someone choosing to serve in this way, but also having these goals of college and training. So we've left this program open for 7 years. The contract enables us to continue to make payments over a 7-year time frame, because we think there are going to be people we serve that start a BA program and then they go serve our country and they stop what they're doing. Now, some of them may be also online and they might be able to maintain some of that education while they're deployed, but we think many will not. And so they're going to have to pause their education for a period and they're going to come back, and part of our job is to get them re-engaged. That's part of the vision here, is we expect disruption as more and more guardsmen are called to serve our country domestically and internationally. And so we have 7 years to sort of see them through that journey.
Now, I know the first program we gave like 5 when we first started the original Pay for Success.
That's right. Yeah.
I just didn't remember. Any other further questions from my colleagues? Anything else? Any of your speakers? And we want to thank you for traveling so far to give us this update. We won't bring you back in 6 months. We'll give it a while. David can give us an update with how you guys are doing and when we possibly need to bring you back in and see if there are some successes. So thank you for traveling here.
And I'll make a commitment that we have quarterly outcomes meetings, and so I'll invite council staff to attend those as well and listen in and hear how things are going.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, any miscellaneous business? Seeing none, hearing none, we're adjourned.